Good evening, all. This is KP4MD, and our YouTube feed is live.
Thanks, Carol. This is James Kane, N6NA. We'll start in a minute. Good evening. This is James, Kilo November 6, Quebec November Juliet, your net control operator for the River City Arc Slow Scan TV net. This net serves for training and practice in image transmission modes and meets Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. on the N6NA repeater on 441.30 megahertz. River City Arcs members and all licensed radio amateurs are welcome to participate. If you wish to join the net or need to make a call at any time, please announce your call sign between transmissions, and net control will acknowledge you. If an emergency should arise and you need the repeater, please contact net control by saying break break. A double break signifies emergency traffic. The net will stand by for you until the emergency is terminated or the traffic is moved to another frequency. Stations who wish to check in are asked to respond with their full call sign using the recognized ITU phonetic alphabet and their name. I will recognize each station before continuing. Any station who wishes to check into the net, please come now.
November 6, Papa Golf, Quebec.
Bob, anyone else?
Yes, this is Kilo Papa 4, Mike Delta Carol, Citrus Heights.
KP4MD, Carol. Joel, are you out there? I heard you conducting a test earlier, AI6DG.
Just waiting my turn. Alpha India 6, Delta Go.
Thanks, Joel. Good. Any other stations wishing to check in tonight?
AN6, Yankee Charlie November, Elk Grove.
KN6, Yankee Charlie November. Can I have your first name, please?
Name is Mike.
Good evening, Mike. Any other stations wishing to check in? I'll add myself to the list, KN6QNJ. Okay, Bob, N6PGQ, are you ready to share an image?
Oh, sure. This should be PD-120.
N6PGQ, K6QNJ. Well, that's obviously a picture of an abacus, but I'll let others comment on it. Before I go to Joel for comment, let's say good evening to Alf and Mark and N6GML. They're watching on YouTube Live. All right, Joel, AI6DG.
Yeah, I know what this is, so I don't want to spoil the fun. So if you could do me last, so I don't spoil it for everyone else.
Okay, Mike, KN6YCN, do you see the image? Carol, KP4MD, do you have comments on the image?
Sure. This is KP4MD, and Alf KN6PRD joins us on the YouTube chat and says that it looks like hammers and chords inside a piano, and I'm going to have to agree with that. Actually, I have a baby grand right in a room with me here, and I could count 16 dampers. Those are dampers. Those are not the hammers. Those are the when you stop pressing the key, those things come down and muffle the sound and stop the strings from sounding. And these have to be at the high end of the register, because these are the thinner piano strings that usually require 3 strings per note. Very nice. A little bit of dust on top of those dampers, but that's not unusual. Back to you. This is KP4MD.
Thanks, Carol. I'll try for Mike again, KN6YCN. Are you still with us? All right, Joel, your turn, AI6DG.
Well, Carol nailed it. That's exactly what I was going to say, down to even calling them dampers. And I was kind of decide what range of the piano it was, but what she said is perfect. Yeah, it would be the high end, because it's multiple, and they're thin as compared to the thicker lower ones. I have to look really hard. I think I only see 3 or 4 pixel pops on it, so real clean reception, and 3 wires per note. That must make tuning them interesting. But you can see the solid metal frame in the background in the upper right. So yeah, those things are. That's why pianos are so heavy. The frame, just to support the tension of all those strings, as taut as they are, is significant. Back to net AI6DG.
Agree. Excellent quality photo, Bob. I don't even see pixel pops on my image. Maybe that's just the lighting, but it's a great photo. I do see the dust on top of the dampers that Carol mentioned, but as she mentioned, that's normal. Any other comments for for Bob, before we have him tell us what it is? All right, Bob, go ahead, N6PGQ.
Well, when I took the picture, my wife said, "Oh, don't do that, there's dust on them." And I said, "Oh, well, people will get over it. Yeah, it's not quite time to dust the piano. I have to get the vacuum cleaner out and the dust rag and get it all cleaned." Yeah, these are the dampers in my wife's Steinway. And if you look carefully at it, you'll notice that there are 3 strings on the left side of the picture that have no damper. And almost every piano in the very high register, there are no dampers, because the string is so short that you can't hold the note very long, so it doesn't require dampers. So these are the highest dampers in the piano, which is on the right side as you're playing the keyboard, and this is on the left side as you're looking into the piano. Another couple interesting things. Of course, this is my analog series, because I was at my kid's house and he's got a digital piano. Let me let this break. one other interesting thing is that most grand pianos have 3 pedals. The rightmost pedal is the sustaining pedal. It lifts all the dampers up, and so the note will continue to play until you let your foot up. The middle pedal on better pianos is a capture pedal, and when you play a chord and then push that pedal, those notes will continue to hold, while you can play other notes that play for a short amount of time, whatever you hold the key down. And the left pedal is the quiet pedal, and what it does is slide the hammers over so that it only hits a couple of the strings instead of all 3 of them. So anyway, there's my lesson for the evening, and I'll take some questions if there are any.
Thanks, Bob. One of the viewers on YouTube, Henry Thompson, said this is not a violin. So he's right. Any questions for Bob?
Yeah, this KP from D.
Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that my original piano that I had many years ago when I was a kid and learning was a Spinet, and it had the sustain pedal and also had the soft pedal. And the soft pedal, what happened in that Spinet was it moved the hammers a little bit closer to all the strings, so they didn't travel that far before they hit the strings. So that's how they achieved that soft variation on that kind of piano. So I guess there's 2 types of mechanisms that can achieve the same thing. Over.
Okay, that's true, and I'll give you one more comment as long as we're talking about Spinet pianos. In addition to moving the keys closer to the strings so that it plays softer, instead of capturing the notes like a grand piano does, or at least most of them, it allows the leftmost notes, the lower notes, to hold, and you can play your right-hand notes, which are usually the melody or something like that, without them holding. So that's how they do that without an expensive set of mechanical parts. N6BGQ.
Bob, Henry, viewing on YouTube, asks about a possibility of a 4th pedal. He says his sister's grand piano has 4 pedals. Do you know why 4?
I really don't. That would be an interesting thing to find out. I may research it for next time, if I remember. N6BGQ.
Thanks, Bob. Carol, do you happen to know KP4MD?
No, that's I've never heard of that, but looking it up on Google it, and it says there is a 4th pedal called the second soft pedal, called the Dulce pedal. Oh, it looks like it does the same thing that Spinet does. It brings the hammer's resting point halfway up to the strings. Interesting. Over.
Copy. Henry will hear that in a moment. Okay, anything else for Bob? After that, we'll move to Joel. Any other questions for Bob? AI6DG, go ahead.
PD120.
Thanks, Joel. Again, another high-quality image. This looks like San Francisco architecture, and Henry online, I think, agrees with that. The fisheye lens or panoramic shot is a very pretty composition. It's very nice. Carol, why don't you go first, KP4MD?
Okay, yeah, this is KP4MD. Alf says Lombard Street. I'm familiar. I've heard of Lombard Street, which is a street that has a curving back and forth, winding type of way to go up a hillside. I can't say for sure if that's San Francisco. I guess it could be, but the distortion of the curvature from what looks like a wide-angle fisheye lens is very obvious, and it's very interesting how it kind of accentuates the size of the curve in the immediate foreground. I can see one car either coming or going towards us there on the left of that curve, and kind of like a hairpin curve, and the sidewalk looks like it's got a number of steps going up as well, a number of steps there, and they kind of look curved. I wonder if that's the actual way that they were made, or if that's just an effect of the fisheye lens as well. And then on the right side, I could see looks like a house number 16 or something that's chopped off there, but very clear picture, no pixel pops. Back to Nets, KP4MD.
Thanks, Carol. N6PGQ.
Well, good quality picture here. Very few pixel pops. The black at the top and the bottom is completely free of them. I think this evening is very good. I also will put my vote in for Lombard Street. And remembering when I was a kid, Lombard Street used to be a two-way street. Going downhill is a little dangerous, so they made it only go uphill. I don't think there is much of a wide-angle picture in this. Maybe a little bit. The curves on Lombard are that sharp, and so I'm going to stick with that, and as usual, I might be wrong. N6PGQ.
Thanks, Bob. AI6DG. Tell us what we're looking at.
I had a really fun trip down to San Francisco for a convention and spent one day playing tourist. And I started out at my hotel around Market Street and walked over to Coit Tower, partway down Market Street, and then over to Coit Tower. And then Coit Tower is one end of Lombard Street, so I walked all the way down Lombard Street, past this section of Lombard Street, sometimes known as the crookedest street in the world, and then basically down to the marina, and then took the cable car back. And most of it was really pleasant, just walking through the city. There were a few places, though, that were just absolute tourist madness, with this tourism and tourists standing around and taking pictures, and so many people. Coit Tower was kind of like that. Marina area was kind of like that. By far the worst was was this section of Lombard Street, crookedest street in the world. Right above this section, at the top, looking down, and at the city you're looking straight at Coit Tower. It's a beautiful view of the city and a Coit Tower. Tons of people up there standing around, taking pictures, talking. At the bottom of this, tons of people, even more people, standing around, taking pictures, talking, looking up at this as cars were coming down this, in a steady stream of cars the whole time. I mean, everyone wanted to drive down this section of road. There is very little, if any, distortion in this. This is a cylindrical projection, so it's basically an up-and-down shot. It was taken, and then you turn. So this is about over 180 degrees, easy. Probably more like 190, 200 degrees worth of view. With my cell phone, and you just tell it to go in panorama mode and start, and then you turn. Turn around, preferably around the pivot point of the axis being the phone, so that you don't get any parallax. The only distortion I do see is that curve on the lower right. I suspect should be a nice curve, not the little straight sections that it's got. But this is a very steep section of road, so yes, there's stairs there on the right going up, and there's some stairs on the left amongst the trees that you just can't see because we're looking down at them. Very pleasant place, but probably horrible for the people that live there. You spend all that money, and you have absolutely no privacy because you've got tourists wandering by your house and looking in the windows all day and night. Back to Net AI6TG.
Thanks, Joel. Yes, I know there's no privacy, and I know the neighbors have tried to close it off from tourists from time to time. Any comments for Joel? All right, KP4MD, it's your turn. I got a very good copy of a photo within a photo. I think the photo in the lower left was the photo where we left off last week, and we're looking at an antenna on the right. The photo's a little bit blurry maybe overall, but the quality is perfect. Again, no pixel pop, so something must be going right in the atmosphere tonight. Joel, AI6DG, why don't you go?
Yes, picture-in-picture on the lower left. I guess I was gone last week. I didn't make the net. But it looks like a castle, looking up at a castle on a hillside with some old medieval buildings on the lower right of that picture-in-a-picture. On the upper part, we've got a bunch of trees in the background. Looks something like a carport on the lower left. And something else like that on the lower right, but it's behind trees, so I can't tell if it's a trellis or a building or a carport. But they're right in the middle of that, right in the middle of the trees, there's a mast sticking up with a couple of antennas on it. Maybe a really small microwave beam of some kind pointing off to the left, and on top of that, probably something like a 2-meter base station antenna with a little loop of coax on the bottom of it. And I agree, it came out great. And that's interesting because I could actually hear the noise on the signal as it was coming in. So it was not full quieting into the repeater, but still, you can't tell that from looking at the picture. Always amazes me how well slow scan does in less than perfect conditions. Back to net AI6DG.
Thanks, Joel. N6PGQ.
Well, you guys know how I sometimes am way off base, but I'm going to guess that this tree is not vertical. So, who knows? But I'm going to find out from AI6DG, N6PGQ.
I'm just going to check one more time for KN6YCN. He's a new ham radio operator who checked in earlier. Mike, are you out there?
Yeah, this is Mike, KN6YCN.
Hey, Mike. I'm glad you're joining us. Are you able to see the pictures? Are you watching on YouTube or hooked up with the SSTV software?
No, none of the above. I'm just listening to you guys, enjoying it.
Copy that. If you want to see what we're talking about, you can go to N6NA.org and find our Slow Scan TV link, and it'll take you to the YouTube link live so you can see the pictures we're talking about. But we're glad you're here. Carol, KP4MD, tell us what we're looking at.
Okay, yeah, this is KP4MD. This is actually caught this off a Street View Google Maps of my antenna. And Bob, you've actually been here to my QTH, and you may have thought you might recognize this. This is my actually on the that inset picture there is actually from about two weeks ago, I believe. That was Neil Kale7HQR sent a picture of Mont Saint Michel. It's some kind of a monastery on top of a little island that becomes a peninsula when the tide goes down. It's an interesting picture, but the antenna is a Arrow OSJ. That's an open stub J-pole dual band. It's 2 meters and 440 on top of a piece of top rail. That's that pole there, and it's sticking. It's up 10 feet above the roof of my home. It's and the reason I'm showing this is the antenna I'm using right now. That antenna that's below it, I guess it's like about 5 feet below the base of that J-pole. That's actually a halo. That's one of 2 meter halos, homebrew halos. I have stacked halos there on 2 meters for horizontal, omnidirectional. What I was showing is that it's a kind of a pine tree. It's not a straight vertical pine tree. It's a different type of scrubby, bushy type of pine. I'm not sure exactly what type it is, but that is pretty close, and it's in the direction of the repeater. And I believe that sometimes that I'm getting reception with multipath. It's because some of those branches are just waving, moving in that path in a certain way that causing some destructive and constructive interference of the signal coming from the repeater. So that's the reason I wanted to show that, just so you can see. The actual distance from the antenna to that tree is probably something around 15 feet or so. So it's not very far away at all. But I believe maybe some of those little branches may be resonant on 70 centimeters. That might be the issue. So that's it. Back to Nets, KP4 Mike Delta.
Thanks, Carol. Thanks for sharing that. That's interesting. That's from a Google Maps a Street View, and that's a neat setup. Any questions for Carol, Joel, Bob, or Mike, KN6YCN? You can certainly ask questions too. I think that was you, Joel.
So, Carol, as you were doing that description, you were fading in and out a little bit. So, is there any wind up there that tree is bending around?
I wouldn't be surprised because there's supposed to be heavy rain out there, and I really can't see very well because it's so dark. I can't see if any branches are blowing around yet. Over.
A little surprised that you're that weak into the repeater. Anyway, back to net. Yeah, 6TG.
Thanks, Joel. Yeah, Carol, you've been a little quiet tonight. I don't know if that's the microphone or low power or the antenna. Were you expecting what we're telling you?
Yeah. I'm actually copying the repeater very strong, and okay, I'm not too far from the microphone here. I'm copying the. I'm not having any trouble on reception. Sometimes I have that problem on reception where the signal is strong and it kind of just like fades down into the noise and pops back up again. So very likely there could be some multipath being caused by those branches up there. Over.
Copy. I think we were experiencing something similar on the 10-meter net. Any other questions for Carol before I send a picture? Let me try a tone here before I do this. Stand by. All right, PD 120. All right. I guess I'll ask Carol to go first, KP4MD.
Okay, thank you. This is KP4MD. Gee, that's a printed circuit board with a bunch of wires coming in from the left. I see a number of one toroid coil, and then it looks like a couple of I don't know how many transformers there are. I see two smaller transformers, In the lower right-hand corner, a couple of, well, 2 or 3 large electrolytic capacitors, and it looked like transistors on heat sinks, 3 of them. And to the right of the largest heat sink, there's another device which I'm thinking is some kind of a transformer. Some IC chips in the board as well, an LED, a little red LED on the board that's lit up. I don't know, is this a power supply? This is what I'm guessing. Some kind of power supply. There's a wire coming out at the bottom of this board that it has looks like a green long wire going to a ground lug, and then two other wires. Oh, okay. This is probably an AC power cord, because it's got the ground wire, which is green, and then it's got the red and white. I mean the black and white, which are the neutral and the live AC. I think that's AC going into that side. I'm suspecting it's some kind of a power supply. This is what I'm guessing, a switching power supply. That's my guess. Back to net, KP4MZ.
Thanks, Carol. What was the quality of the picture, just out of curiosity? It looks good on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, yes, perfectly sharp, no pixel pops at all. Over.
Copy. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. All right, Bob, N6PGQ.
Yeah, the quality of the transmission is really good. Picture's a little bit out of focus here at my QTH. You can see the heat sinks on the right. Looks like it has a transistor on the inside of it on both of them. You know, large electrolytic capacitors, and it looks like a whole bunch of little small ones. And it's going to be interesting to find out. N6PGQ.
AI6DG.
Everything's very well described so far. We got a switching power supply board mounted onto what must be a metal plate, because on the lower right we got the power AC cable coming in with the black and white for the hot and neutral, and the green ground going to the lug to that plate. Electrolytic caps. Big heat sinks with diodes or transistors on them, transformers, IC through-hole construction, not surface mount, so it's either an older design or an older product. And the DC on the left side with the yellow, which is usually 12 volts, I think, red, which is +5, black of ground. I don't know what the white would be. So I'm trying to figure out what's below that. I mean, is this what's that thing we can just see an edge of on the lower right, and I can't tell. So aside from supply, we can't really tell what this is, because it's obviously a supply to something. But back to net, AI6TG.
Thanks, Joel. Henry and Alf, who are watching on YouTube, think it might be part of a television. Mike, KN6YCN, did you happen to go onto YouTube? Do you see the picture? Okay, well, I have basically a Peltier cooler that you can use either for wine or cigar humidification that broke, and it's cooling way too much, and so I opened it up, and I'm trying to figure out what's wrong. So this is the control unit and power supply for a fan that pulls heat out of basically a small refrigerator box with a glass door. So the fan is where the red cables in the middle are attaching to. The other cord that Carol identified is the AC power cord. So something's wrong with, I guess, the thermostat, and it won't stop cooling, so it goes down to like 50 degrees, so it's just too cold. So I thought that you guys could look at the picture and tell me what's wrong. Any thoughts? All right, I cannot believe I stumped this group. Anyway, I might have to recycle this whole unit. Yes, it is old technology, which I mean, relatively old technology. Not quite analog, Bob, but it is through-hole construction, and who knows what went wrong. Any other questions or comments for me? All right. Well, with that, I think it's time to close the net. Thanks to everyone who participated in tonight's Slow Scan TV Net, the folks who shared images, the folks on YouTube, and Mike at KN6YCN. Thanks for joining us. We hope to see you all again next Wednesday at 9 p.m. The net is officially closed at 9:43 p.m. This is James, Kilo November 6, Quebec November Juliet, wishing all of you a good evening.